Okay, welcome to our third class. Yes, this is our third class on Orion training. Okay, if you agree with me, I think in our last class we learned how we can actually impute the column and then run our beam. Okay, so I believe you have actually practiced it to this particular stage, whereby you use grid, maybe a particular floor plan to actually generate your grid, apart from using orthogonal axis generator, right? So having done that, if you are sure you have done that and you have learned it to this particular stage, then we'll go to another stage, which is adding. If you look at the structural component, we have got our column and beam. Okay, so the next thing is for us to input our slab, right? So to look at the arrangement here, the next one here is the slab. Okay, you can see it already. All right, so I'll click on this slab. Okay, give us this dialog box. Okay, now if you have this dialog box, now the first thing under the general, we have the height. Okay, the height of the slab, okay, which is the thickness of the slab. So let's say we want the thickness of the slab to be 150. Okay, and then we talk about the concrete cover. Okay, the concrete cover of the slab, let's assume let's say we use 25. Okay, and under this we have insertion point. What we mean by insertion point is that, for example, your axis, like when you are inputting the slab, is it going to be the slab is going to be input based on, I'm talking about the boundary of the slab at which is going to be panels, like the slab panel. Okay, are you going to, the panel, is it based on the grid or based on the beam region? Okay, so we actually use the beam region, so that each of the beam, when the beam cross and enclosed beam, will serve as one panel. For example, as you can see, this is one panel, this is another panel, this is another panel. Okay, but if you put it an axis region, so even though you have a beam running, okay, or you have an axis running and then you do not run a beam, then you can still include a slab. For example, you want to do something like cantilever and all that. Okay, but for this, we'll be leaving it at beam region for intersections, right, or for insertion. All right, so after that, that is what you set here. Then we go to load. Okay, now the software automatically gives us the self weight of the structure based on the grid and the span that we have generated based on this now. And then we have the dead load. Okay, now we have imposed load. So if we include imposed load and then the self weight of the structure, will get the dead load, right? So I'll right click on this. Okay, now we'll look at different level of imposed load, right? What we want to draw or what we want to design. So depend on what structures you are doing. Okay, let's say hospital, general domestic use and all that. But me personally, whether it's residential or office use, I only use office for general use because the value of the imposed load is higher, okay, compared to that of the normal bedroom. Okay, so I use office for general use because, for example, in office there is laptop, there is this, there is that, right? Which normally, even in a residential houses now, you have an office there, or you have all those gadgets that you have in the office. So, and normally when you are designing a structure, it's better you design it safely, like you make sure you pick something that, okay, at least no matter what, under what condition, it can still carry the load. All right, so that is what we do. So I pick that. So if I add this imposed load and then the self weight load, if you add them together, we now input the value. So if you add 3 plus this is 5. If you add if you add this together, which is 4, what is 6? Okay, 6. Okay, all right, so let's say we are using 8 meters. Let's say I use 8. okay, 8, not meter, sorry, as the weight, okay, as the dead load. So I'll just put 8 here as a dead load, okay, because sorry, let me just use 7. All right, so after that, the thing is that just the addition of these two. So if you add them together, you can just include the value that is here. All right, but I just use 7 now based on my approximate addition. All right, so after that, okay, I've added all the informations. Then you come to this, you now click, you add your slab, 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 you add your slab. Now let's assume this is our staircase area, right? So I don't need to put slab on the staircase, so I'll add the slab in the other side. So now if you zoom this slab very well, okay, if you zoom it very well, you discover that this is, they call it, this is slab 1 story 1, and the height, which is the thickness of the slab, is 150. Do you understand? And then we have slab 1 story 2, or story 1 slab 1, then story 1 slab 2. That is the explanation. Because we are in story 1, and then this is the slab, different number of slab. Okay, so this is how you include your slab. Okay, so now if you click, okay, all right, so you can also view the 3D. Okay, so I click here to view. All right, so you can see. So now we have our slab attached. Okay, so now the next thing is to increase our stories, like the number of stories, like the number of floor, right? So I'll go back to the slab. Okay, now there are different ways at which you can increase the number of your story or the number of floor. Okay, so now as you can see, this is story 1, right? Slab 1. So we are working on story 1 now, right? So now if I go to building, they will say we'll see insert story. Okay, so I click on insert story, and then this is story 1, right? So I'll put the next one as 2. Okay, number of story, which is 2. Okay, now if I click on this place, now you see that I'm having story 1 and story 2. So now if the building or the structure that you are designing is just a duplex or just one story building, you can now use this story 1 and story 2, because story 1 is the floor, okay, which is the ground floor. Okay, and then story 2 is the first floor. All right, so if it is that, but if it is something that go up to 2-story building, then you can add another story, which is the same process of clicking building, and then click on insert story, and then add story 3. Okay, so that is how you insert story to the number of story that you want. Okay, then if you look at it vividly, you see is that this our story is not carrying any information, right? If I click on 3D now, okay, you see it, the information is reflecting here, but on the floor plan the information is not there because we have not transferred the information on this floor. Okay, the information from the first floor, or yes, from the story 1, you have not transferred it to the rest of the story, right? So I'll go back to story 1, which carried the information that we need. So I'll go back to the same building, and then I'll click on generate story. Okay, now I'm generating, this is a source story, and then this is the target story. So I'm generating from story 1 to story 2 and story 3. Okay, because this is a source story and then this is a target story, so I'm selecting. Guys, if you look at it now, the story 1 is selected on the source story, and you are generating it to this target story, which is story 1, story 2, and story 3. And the information that you are to be generated is column, wall, beam, slab load, slab opening. You understand? All this have to be transferred. That is if they are involved. But based on our design now, the information we only have column, we have beam, and then we have slab. Okay. So now, not that as this thing is there, not that it's going to generate or transfer any slab load. No, because there's no slab load there. So you can leave it. You can leave it checked like that. Based on the fact there's no any information on slab load, you cannot transfer any slab load. So I'll just click OK from here. Alright, so process complete. Okay, process completed. So I'll close here. So now this is story 1. If I click on story 2, you see I have the same information. If I click on story 3, it have the same information. If I go back to my 3G, I'll see every information that is here. Okay, so you can see it vividly. Alright, so now this is how you generate your story. Okay, so if you look at it now from the beginning of this training, you know how you can add your beam, add your column, add your slab, and then increase the number of stories and the rest of them. Okay.